June 9th, 1944. A ditch outside Cauquigny, Normandy. A platoon of glider infantry is pinned flat, Germans closing from both flanks. The only way out is a hedgerow gap 40 yards behind them. Nobody can reach it. A private first class, 6'7", impossible to miss, stands up, walks into the open road, and raises a Browning automatic rifle with 20 rounds in the magazine. He does not stop firing. This is the story of the M1918 Browning Automatic Rifle, the weapon every infantry squad depended on and every enemy sniper hunted first. It was called the backbone of the American squad. It was also called a death sentence. Both descriptions were true, but to understand why one man would walk into an open road carrying one, you have to understand what this weapon was, and what it was never supposed to become. To understand why the Browning automatic rifle existed, you have to understand a problem that haunted every general on the Western Front by 1916. How do you cross no man's land alive? The French believed they had an answer. It was called marching fire. Soldiers armed with automatic rifles would advance across open ground, firing continuously from the hip, suppressing defenders through sheer volume of walking firepower. The United States Army, entering the war late and desperate for an edge, embraced the concept. They needed a weapon light enough for one man to carry while walking, powerful enough to deliver automatic fire, and ready for production in months. John Moses Browning, already the most prolific firearms designer in American history with 128 patents to his name, had been working on exactly such a weapon since 1910. On February 27, 1917, at Congress Heights, before roughly 300 military officials and foreign dignitaries, Browning fired 2 prototypes. The Army awarded him a contract on the spot. From concept to full-rate production took approximately 3 months. The weapon was brilliant. The doctrine it was designed for was not. A special web cartridge belt with a vertical metal cup was issued to support the weapon's butt against the hip during walking fire. One combat chronicle noted bluntly that the tactical conditions in France made this technique laughable, if not suicidal. The weapon designed for marching fire would spend its entire career doing something else, serving as a light machine gun, the sole source of automatic fire for an 8 to 12-man squad, and General Pershing made sure it would not see even that career quickly. Although 17,000 bars sat in French warehouses by late July 1918, Pershing delayed deployment until September, less than 3 months before the armistice, to prevent the weapon from being captured and reverse-engineered. When finally committed, the BAR proved so effective that France immediately requested 15,000 to replace their despised Chauchat machine rifles. But the walking fire doctrine was already dead. The weapon that outlived its own purpose was just getting started. The M1918-2, the variant that defined the American infantry squad in World War II, weighed 19.4 pounds empty, roughly 21 pounds with a loaded magazine. It measured nearly 4 feet long and fired the .30 caliber 06 Springfield cartridge at 2,822 feet per second. It fed from a 20-round detachable box magazine. That number, 20 rounds, would define everything about this weapon and the men who carried it. The A2 had 2 rates of automatic fire and nothing else. Slow automatic ran at roughly 300 to 450 rounds per minute. Fast automatic ran at 500 to 650. Semi-automatic fire, 1 trigger pull, 1 shot, had been deliberately removed. The Army had reconceived the weapon's role from automatic rifle to squad-light machine gun, and since the squad already carried semi-automatic and 1 Garands, engineers at Springfield Armory replaced the semi-auto function with a hydraulic buffer mechanism. One ordnance sergeant described the delicate device as a Rube Goldberg contraption prone to malfunction. Some Marines reportedly modified their A2s to restore what the Army had taken away. Browning's original design had been a model of clean engineering. Gas-operated long-stroke piston, rising bolt lock. It weighed 16 pounds. By the time the Army finished improving it, the A2 weighed nearly 21. A skid-footed bipod added 3 pounds at the muzzle, the wrong mounting point causing barrel deflection and blocking the sight picture when it spun on its pivot. Wing nuts had to be loosened to deploy it. Pacific Theatre veterans generally removed the bipod and the flash hider before their first patrol. One writer described carrying the loaded weapon as the equivalent of lashing 2 M1 Garands together and going for a hike. Against its rivals, the bar's limitations were stark. The British Bren carried 30 rounds per magazine and had a quick-change barrel swappable in 6 to 8 seconds. The German MG42 was in an entirely different class, belt-fed, 1,200 rounds per minute, barrel changeable in under 10 seconds, deployable on a bipod, a tripod, or an anti-aircraft mount. The entire German squad, 9 to 10 men with bolt-action rifles, existed to support and protect that single machine gun. The bar had none of that. What it had was harder to quantify. One man could carry it, fire it on the move, and fight with it alone in mud, sand, snow, and jungle. A 1943 Marine Corps report praised its dependability. The weapon functioned under all conditions with few stoppages. From Italy, the assessment was even more direct. The bar needed no modification. But modifications would have saved lives. 3 companies manufactured the original bar during the First World War: Winchester, Marlin Rockwell, and Colt. Winchester's first batch of 1,800 rifles came out of specification. Components would not interchange. By the Second World War, the manufacturer was International Business Machines. IBM introduced the armor steel casting method and limited its wartime profits to 1.5%. During the Korean War, the job went to the Royal McBee Typewriter Company. The weapon that decided infantry firefights was built by the people who made typewriters. If you are finding this deep dive interesting, consider subscribing. It costs nothing, takes a second, and helps the channel continue. Now, back to the bar. In combat, the bar created men who should not have existed. On October 28, 1944, in the Mortagne Forest of eastern France, Staff Sergeant Lucian Adams of the 3rd Infantry Division watched 3 men die in the first 10 yards of an advance. 6 more fell wounded. German machine gun nests bracketed the road. Everyone dove for cover, except Adams. He picked up a borrowed BAR and charged alone, tree to tree, firing from the hip. In 10 minutes he destroyed 3 machine gun emplacements, killed 9 Germans, and took 2 prisoners. When the 3rd gun opened at 20 yards, Adams thought, "I am a goner now." The enemy gunner missed. His Medal of Honor was presented at the Zeppelin Stadium in Nuremberg, the site of Hitler's rallies. Minutes later, army engineers blew the swastika off the building. 3 days after D-Day, at Cauquigny near the Meurdere River, the BAR asked something different of a different man. Private First Class Charles DeGlopper's platoon from the 325th Glider Infantry Regiment, 82nd Airborne, had walked into an ambush. The men scrambled into a shallow ditch. Germans were manoeuvring to encircle them. The only escape was a hedgerow gap 40 yards to the rear, open ground under direct fire. DeGlopper, the platoon's BAR man, tallest target on the battlefield, volunteered. He walked into the open road and began firing, deliberately drawing every gun onto himself. He was hit almost immediately. He kept firing. Hit again, he dropped to a knee. Kneeling in the road, weakened by wounds that would kill him, he levelled the weapon and fired burst after burst until he died. His platoon escaped. They established the first American bridgehead over the Murderette. DeGlopper was the only soldier from the 82nd Airborne to receive the Medal of Honor for the entire Normandy campaign. His nephew said simply years later, "I think he was just. This is what I have to do to get this job done." Here is the honest truth about the weapon Charles DeGlopper carried into that road. Its 20-round magazine, at the fast cyclic rate, emptied in roughly 2 seconds. 2 seconds of fire, then silence while fumbling for the next magazine. The bar had no quick-change barrel. It was screwed into the receiver and could not be swapped in the field. During sustained fire, the barrel overheated. Marines in the Pacific reported melting BARs down during extended engagements. The weapon weighed 40 pounds with a full combat load of 12 magazines, 240 rounds that a determined gunner could exhaust in under a minute. Every enemy on the battlefield knew this. German sniper doctrine listed automatic weapon operators as the second highest priority target, behind only officers. Translated interrogation records quote one sniper directly. "I had to shoot at enemy commanders and gunners because our own forces would have been too weak without this support." The barman was identifiable by the weapon's distinctive silhouette, by his cartridge belt with 6 large pouches, and by the sound of automatic fire in a squad of semi-automatic rifles. But the limitation reveals the weapon's true nature. The bar was not designed for its operator to survive a sustained firefight. It was designed for him to win a short one. 20 rounds. One accurate burst at the decisive moment. The weapon rewarded aggression and punished hesitation. which is exactly why Adams charged and DeGlopper stood. The BAR was officially retired in 1957, replaced on paper by the M14 rifle. It was not actually replaced in function. The M14 proved inadequate as a squad automatic weapon. The M1601 also failed. The M60 filled the belt-fed role but required a two-man crew. For 27 years, the American infantry squad fought without a true replacement for the weapon Browning had designed in 3 months. The Army's own field manual later admitted that the M249 squad automatic weapon, adopted in 1984, filled the void created by the BAR's retirement because every interim weapon had failed. The M249 addressed the BAR's two greatest mechanical failings, belt-fed with 200 rounds and a quick-change barrel. But it was built by Fabrique Nationale in Belgium, the same company that had manufactured BAR variants for decades, and the FN Mag, the M240 in American service today, uses the BAR's locking mechanism, inverted. Browning's rising bolt, designed in 1917, is still locking breeches more than a century later. Brigadier General S.L.A. Marshall, surveying infantry operations in Korea, called the BAR simply the mainstay, the weapon that provided the fire base around which all other infantry weapons built up. He reported that riflemen were markedly willing to carry extra ammunition for the BAR man. They knew what mattered, they knew who mattered, and they knew the cost. Today, a life-size bronze statue of Charles DeGlopper stands on Grand Island, New York, 77 years after he walked into a road in Normandy. Lucian Adams worked for the Veterans Administration for over 40 years, counselling thousands of veterans. He never once told any of them he held the Medal of Honor. The open road, 20 rounds. DeGlopper walked into it, and now you know what the weapon asked of every man who carried it. 21 pounds, 20 rounds. The most important weapon in the squad, and the shortest distance between a soldier and a target on his chest. The BAR did not forgive and it did not protect. It just needed someone willing to pick it up. So here is my question for you. Knowing everything the BAR could do, and everything it could not, knowing its 20-round magazine and its fixed barrel and its 40-pound combat load, would you have carried it? Would you have volunteered for the most dangerous job in the squad? I would love